Hi there, and welcome to another edition of The Amazing World of Psychiatry. And in this post, I'm just looking at the Finch Report and asking the question, will this transform UK science? So the Finch Report was a report commissioned by the UK government and headed by Dame Janet Finch, and the working title of the group gives you a little bit of a clue as to what they're doing. The Working Group on Expanding Access on Published Research Findings. So this group is looking at how in the United Kingdom the government can improve access to research publications. So just to set the scene, in the scientific publishing industry there are several models, and there are two in particular that are taking a centre stage in a debate that is happening at the moment. And the debate is between having scientists publishing their research in subscription-based journals, and that means that if you want to read the research you have to pay a fee, and that can be, you know, a reasonable amount to access each individual article. And the second model is for the scientists or researchers to submit their papers to open access journals, and the basic model here is that they will pay the journals a fee to publish their research, but the readers, they don't have to pay the journals anything. They can access it for free online in an open access format. So that's the centre stage, this division between journals which pay readers to access the articles but allow the researchers to submit their research for free, or the open access journals which charge the researchers to submit their articles but let the readers access their journals for free. So there is a third alternative which is kind of in the middle, which is where the researchers don't have to pay to submit their articles and the readers don't have to pay to read the articles, but that's less common. So in the middle of this debate, the Finch Group have compiled a report and made a lot of recommendations about how the publishing of UK funded research can move forwards. Now here's the sticking point. Basically, taxpayers in the UK will fund government funded research, and if they then want to read the results of this research they'll have to pay a second time to the subscription journals. So this is a point that seems to be unfair and has been debated quite a lot. And so what the Finch Group recommended as a really important point was to make sure that if the UK government has funded UK research from the taxpayer, then that research should be made freely available in open access format, and that's a really great recommendation. And what's really exciting is that the UK government last month approved the recommendations made by the Finch Group. So this is going to happen, this is going to become a reality. So the other thing that's really interesting about the Finch Report is that it's been given a Creative Commons 3.0 Unported license, which basically means it's got a license that allows you to reuse the material in there, providing that you give appropriate attributions and that it has an appropriate license for others to be able to reuse. and that's kind of just echoing what the report is about in the sense of facilitating the dissemination of the scientific research publications. And what I'll do, I'll just go to the actual report. This is the executive summary, so obviously it's a very limited number of pages relevant to the main document. So you can see what they think about improving the flow of information and knowledge, and what this can do. So it can enhance transparency, openness and accountability, provide closer linkage between research and innovation, improve efficiency in the research process itself, and increase returns on investments made in research, particularly with public funds. Here there's a summary of the current environment, subscription-based journals, open access journals and repositories. So repositories would allow researchers to place their papers in there before they've been published, and would also contain the so-called grey literature, which is research which is not published but is contributing towards the scientific knowledge base. And in their report they also suggest that there's a place for helping to make the repositories more robust. So here are the recommendations. So support for publication in open access or hybrid journals, effective and flexible arrangements by the research councils to meet the cost of publishing in these journals, looking at the ability of people to use and reuse the publications, again additional funding to support this transition, a suggestion about walk-in access to papers in public libraries across the UK. That's an interesting recommendation. So looks at facilitating the discussions between universities and publishers, because the publishers are currently carrying out really important functions, and these would include providing the infrastructure, the repository where scientific knowledge is securely stored. A lot of that needs the infrastructure of the large publishing houses that have repositories around the world and backups and so on. And the large publishing houses would also be very good at disseminating this research in a way that small enterprises or individuals would be unable to do. So you can't move entirely over to open access, and you probably have to have something in the middle, and there's a very valuable role being played by the publishing industry which shouldn't be overlooked, and indeed is not overlooked in this report. So just running through the rest of it, more recommendations about collaboration, developing infrastructures in repositories for institutions, embargo periods. Section 4 is what needs to be done, key actions. So this is the overall policy and funding arrangements, clear commitment to support costs of research communication system, consider how best to fund increases in access during the transition between these models, look at outcome measures that will be handy in evaluating what's happening, and key actions helping organisations with funding, and then the finer details of exactly what role open access should be playing, and the finer points of funding for this model. The range of open access and hybrid journals should be extended. So the hybrid journals are the subscription-based journals that will also publish open access articles if the research team paid the fee. And there's various points about licensing and repositories and costs and funding. So it's well worth a look.